to a calmer mind. Number 3. Exercise the dichotomy of control. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The dichotomy of control is the distinction between what we can control and what we can't. For example, the weather, traffic issues, or what people think about you are all outside of your control. But how you dress, at what time you leave, and the kind of people you surround yourself with, that you can control. So, whenever you face a situation that makes you feel a certain way, ask yourself, what can I control? Whatever you can control is a reason to act. Whatever you cannot control, you should learn to accept and embrace without letting it affect you. Learning to distinguish between these two things and act accordingly can clear your mind instantly. A very important part of the dichotomy of control is amor fati, or translated, love for fate. When you embrace life and all the circumstances it brings you, you will always love life. You cannot escape fate or decide circumstances that are out of your control, but you can choose to love your life no matter what. If you find yourself rejected for a job you've wanted for years, you might think there's no redemption in such a situation. You wanted the job, tried, and failed. You couldn't possibly pretend to love fate in a circumstance like this. However, this is a misunderstanding. Instead of viewing the fact you didn't fulfill your ambition purely as a negative, investigate what led to the negative result and use it to make a positive move. Either the reason you didn't get the job was a failure on your part, in which case this is something you can control, you can work on those failings and try again when a similar opportunity appears in the future, or the reason was an external factor like nepotism or a personality clash with a member of the hiring staff. This was never in your control, meaning the opportunity never truly existed, and there's no point getting upset over something that's never existed. One part of accepting fate is distancing yourself from a fixed outcome and from external markers of success. If you want to be a writer, for example, and measure your success by the amount of sales your book makes, then you'll let your success be controlled by the arbitrary book market of the time. But if you choose to measure your success by how satisfied you are with your finished product, or by the amount of work you put into it, then you are in control of your success. So by all means, make sure to do everything in your power to try and achieve your goals, but never forget that you might not achieve them, and accept this possibility in advance. If we occupy ourselves only with what's in our control and vow to accept everything that isn't the exact way it comes, then one will find themselves being calm, whatever happens. Number 4. Keep virtues in mind. To quote Marcus Aurelius, dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of goodness ever ready to flow if you will keep digging. A virtue is an excellence of character, or, simply said, morally good behavior. Morally good behavior benefits not only you and those around you, but the greater good. The Stoics believed in an interdependent universe, that everything and everyone is connected in some way. Thus, according to Stoicism, what's best for the greater good is eventually best for you as well. This is why the Stoics were convinced that the most rational people were people that committed to the greater good, or in other words, acted virtuously. Not acting virtuous is the result of ignorance, according to the Stoics. When life throws you in an unexpected direction, virtues can guide you towards what to do and keep you grounded. This is why the most virtuous people are the calmest and most relaxed. In order to be virtuous, one has to keep the 4 most important virtues of Stoicism in mind: wisdom, justice, temperance, and courage. Wisdom, in the eyes of the Stoics, is the ability to judge what's good, bad, in between, or neutral. Instead of being controlled by emotion, one must think big picture. In our final quote from Marcus Aurelius for this video, he says, "How beautifully Plato put it. Whenever you want to talk about people, it's best to take a bird's eye view and see everything all at once." Considering the big picture is a tremendously important part of clearing one's mind. When living life, we are always right in the middle of everything. Every problem can seem like the end of the world. For example, when you're in the middle of a small crowd, it might seem that the entire city is crowded, but taking only a few steps aside will prove the opposite. So, in general, when we take a step back and look at the entirety of the world and our lives, we see how small all we experience really is, and how tiny we truly are. And then we see how much of the world is there, beyond our subjective experience. Lots of people forget that their experiences and opinions are not the only thing that should matter, even to themselves. Someone who's had a bad experience with dogs, for example, might not understand or believe that dogs can be helpful and amazing pets to others, unless they consciously consider the possibility of other experiences. From time to time, we all need to take a step back and ask ourselves, what are we forgetting or missing? Doing this can be helpful in a number of ways. For example, imagine having to choose between staying at your current job or applying for a newly opened position somewhere else. This might seem like a difficult decision, especially if you're not sure whether either of those would satisfy you. Maybe you feel okay about your current job and don't want the added responsibility of the promotion, but you do appreciate the better pay that comes with it. You might feel stuck. However, there's so much more you could think about. Have you considered moving into an entirely different field altogether? Or a side hustle, a way to make money with your free time alongside your current job? Perhaps immersing yourself in a hobby to shift your focus away from the time you spend doing something you don't like as much. There's a big chance that there are many, many options in life that you're not even aware of. Looking at the big picture instead of being focused only on what's right in front of you can help tremendously when making a decision. Looking at the grand scheme of things is not only helpful for deciding what's important, but also helpful when forming an opinion. You need to know about all options or all the aspects of a certain situation if you want to judge it properly. Furthermore, taking a step back also means getting away from your own view and biases. When you let go of your own desires for a moment, you might be reminded of the people around you and your duty to them. You might think that in the heat of the moment, littering isn't a big deal, but when you step back and think of the entirety of the world, of the possibility of everyone else doing it, you finally see the smallness of your desire to litter in comparison to the well-being of the world. As said before, the Stoics thought that everything in the world is interconnected and that the general well-being of the world improves your personal well-being as well. Thus, taking a step back and looking at the world as a whole instead of just your life is tremendously important. When facing a choice, hardship, problem, or change in life, you can inwardly ask yourself some questions. This could be in the moment or later on, perhaps when you're thinking through your day, whether while out for a walk or when journaling about them, something Aurelius was a particular fan of. The most common questions to ask yourself are, what could the long-term effects of my choice or action be? How could someone else's perspective on this differ from mine? Do I know somebody in a similar situation or with similar goals to mine that could help? Does my choice or action affect my well-being? Does it affect the well-being of those around me? Are there any choices I haven't considered yet? Taking the time to consider all aspects of the world helps yourself in the way that it helps you understand your actions, thoughts, life and choices more clearly. And it helps yourself in the way that it allows you to help the world. When you consider the whole picture, you will always have an overseeing view that leaves you free from unnecessary restraint, bias, or doubt. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out our full Philosophies for Life playlist, and for more videos to help you find success and happiness using ancient philosophical wisdom, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.